KREM 2 News begins now.
It's been a busy week for news across the inland Northwest. Let's get you caught up with the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. Here now is a look at some of the biggest stories from this past week.
This will truly be the golden age of America.
President-elect Donald Trump picked up a win in Michigan Wednesday afternoon, sweeping the so-called blue wall states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin that were keys to Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign.
They came from all quarters, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American.
Harris called Trump to concede the race and discuss the peaceful transition of power, a theme she touched on while addressing supporters in Washington this afternoon.
We will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Trump has said beginning on day one, he'll give the order to round up and expel all immigrants living in the U.S. illegally. He wants to impose a tariff of 10 to 20% on all goods not made in America, and he says he will end the wars in Ukraine and Gaza.
They said he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
Republican Michael Baumgartner thanked Eastern Washington and the crowd that was here, saying he is very pleased to see initial results showing a pretty strong lead over his opponent. Congresswoman Cathy McMorris Rodgers introduced Baumgartner onto the stage. She said she is honored and excited to literally pass the baton to Baumgartner. He says he has big shoes to fill and thanked McMorris Rodgers for her 20 years of service. The 5th Congressional District race hasn't been called yet, but Baumgartner says he plans to work hard every day for all of Eastern Washington.
Well, I want folks to know that if you voted for me, I'm your congressman, and if you didn't vote for me, I'm your congressman. So I work for all of you, and we're going to do everything we can to work every day to be an outstanding representative. And so I got 775,000 bosses out there, and we're looking forward to do the job for them.
Well, we'll be watching closely to make sure he keeps his word. In Congress, he must work across the aisle and put Eastern Washington ahead of party, and we must hold him accountable if he does not.
That was Democratic candidate Carmela Conroy giving what sounded like a concession speech. Again, this race has not yet been called, but we are watching it closely. Conroy also said in her speech tonight she does plan to run in this race again once it's up for grabs. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Election night proved to be an incredibly busy one for the Spokane County Elections Office. Helping voters and taking ballots were some of their main focuses for election night. Right behind me are just some of those ballots that came into the Elections Office later into the evening. The Elections Office even opened up 2 additional voter service centers to help deal with the bigger than normal crowds that they were expecting. At one point, the line outside the Elections Office stretched all the way down to the street, while voters at the Catalyst building saw wait times up to 2 hours, and voters over at the Center Place Regional Event Center in Spokane Valley, the last voters finished right before 11 o'clock Tuesday night. Now that last-minute voting rush is done, Spokane County Elections Manager Mike McLaughlin says they'll start processing more ballots Wednesday morning.
Processing all of the drop boxes, then the mail will come in. Our goal is to run everything through first pass, is what we call it, to show that the ballot was received.
Now, as for voter turnout, the Washington Secretary of State's office reports about 65% of Spokane County's ballots were returned as of Tuesday night. McLaughlin only expects that number to get bigger as more ballots are processed. At the Spokane County Elections Office, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
Thousands of people braved the 20-degree temperatures this morning to be the beneficiaries of Tom's Turkey Drive.
I'm very grateful for the people that helped this go on.
Before 2014, when I started,
I knew there was a need out in the community, but I had no idea how bad it was until I started doing it. So I understand now what is needed.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Weekend Review. I'm Tim Pham. Let's get back now to some of the biggest news stories from the Inland Northwest this past week.
A Halloween night that was supposed to be full of costumes and candy quickly turned into a night of devastation for the Greer family, who lost their entire house and their 5 pets to a house fire here in Elk, Washington.
I'm just happy that no one was in the house.
Ashley Greer said the house fire is still a mystery. She says the local fire department will not know the cause for at least another week. But she does know that the south end of the house was the hottest part. And unfortunately, she says the home is not salvageable.
With everything going on right now, there's nothing that we can afford, especially after losing everything. And so I think springtime will be our game plan to where we figure out our biggest move.
Family of 5 has moved into a family member's house nearby, but with snow and the holidays fast approaching, they will have to wait until the new year to figure out next steps.
I'm doing okay. I'm fine. I just have to go day by day processing stuff. And I've just got to remember to be positive and don't let anyone or anything bring me down.
As for now, Greer says they are trying their best to get through each day. The family is looking forward to the holidays to spend time with family and loved ones as they process the future.
Just lean on everybody. Even in a small community, you will be surprised at who comes out to help.
The Greer family said that the local community support has already been amazing and they are still accepting donations through GoFundMe. There will also be a local fundraiser right here in Elk, Washington this weekend to gather more funds. In Elk, Washington, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Since opening their location in Spokane Valley in January, Fox Lumber's had 2 fires at the location. One was a spark that flipped into a wall, put out with a fire extinguisher. Another occurred when staff was repairing a piece of equipment.
And they weren't sure if they had a spark go into our dust collection, which could fester, and if it lit up later on, could have caused a lot of problems.
Now, LNI is reporting more safety concerns with 61 violations concerning that and the health of staff, exceeding $126,000. The report says sawdust has been found up to 5 inches deep across the facility, saying the amount near space heaters present a fire hazard. The report also says the site is subject to unprotected machinery, potential falling hazards, and a perceived lack of worker training.
So there's some things that we are not sure that their investigator is right on.
Director of Operations for Fox Lumber, Quentin Abaddale, says Fox Lumber will be appealing the citations and fines. He says one reason being a small lumber remanner known as Snow Peak operated at that location for 25 years before Fox Lumber moved to that location.
And it seemed that they were pretty adequate. So since we hadn't made many changes, I think those measures, their safety measures, were still pretty adequate. Now, can they be improved? Almost always you can find a way to improve it, and we are interested in that.
Boeing CEO and president said in late October that the company was saddled with too much debt amid Boeing's machinist strike. Boeing said in a statement then on October 11th that they will also reduce their workforce by roughly 10%. Now it's important to note that the union vote will not affect the planned layoffs that will happen later in November. The company says due to challenges involving the 777X program, their 767 freighters that are still in production, and their Defense, Space, and Security division, the company must restructure their workforce to align with their financial reality. Looking towards the Moses Lake facility, I asked the City of Moses Lake Mayor Dustin Swartz on his thoughts if layoffs were to come to the area.
Maybe a number of them would try to move back to the west side of the state. I don't think we as a community want to see them go, right? Overall, again, I think part of our history, tradition, etc. They really fit in with who we are.
He said local businesses could feel the impact if Boeing's workforce in the city decreases.
There are other entities in the county or in our area that I think want to see them stay, including myself. Knowing that there are a bunch of entities out at the port that support Boeing services.
Mayor Swartz says there are other companies in aerospace and manufacturing sites that have established a foothold in the area.
Growth that we're seeing in Moses Lake definitely is unprecedented.
But he is not sure if that growth is enough to absorb the workforce if Boeing layoffs were to happen.
Putting 1,000 people into a new job might be a little difficult like tomorrow.
I did reach out to the Boeing company, and they said that they are not regionalizing the layoffs yet.
Our Seattle sister station King 5 reported that from a source they received, the timeline of those layoffs. Starting November 13th, Boeing's managers will receive and deliver those layoff notices. In the studio, Rican Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Teresa Bainbroaches lived out of her car and says after her experience in poverty, mental health is something often overlooked.
It's not being taken care of. I think that people get put on the back burner because they're homeless. They get continuances.
After 3.5 years, she's able to now get a home with her son, but says the issue is still pertinent for her and many across the city.
I know I have a lot of people who tell me about their stories often, and it really is a mental health situation.
Her views, as well as the views of other attendees at Thursday's roundtables in Town Hall, discussed the matter of camping after a city ordinance passed last year not allowing camping on public property. Attendees were given the chance to speak their viewpoints.
People are being punished for just being houseless.
I am a fan of protecting our downtown core and our downtown businesses.
But out of all given the opportunity to speak, Bainbroach told her story, saying her experience exposed her to the reality of how anyone can fall on hard times.
I'm a college student, I'm a certified peer counselor through the state, and I live in my car.
Emphasizing her belief in more funding from the city needing to go towards aiding those who've lost their homes.
It might take some time, but once you get to somebody, they can start helping you. But that is the most important. You got to get help first.
And I think when we started Tom's Turkey Drive, you know, I think we just were really year to year. I don't think we really thought that there would be this, I don't know, long-term need or something else would come along or we didn't need to be doing it anymore. And it just developed an energy of its own.
Well, I spoke with Kootenai County Auditor Jennifer Locke here at the Elections Office, and she tells me it is just the sheer amount of ballots, both early and day of ballots, that have made this kind of a challenging task for counters. Now, early ballots, that's in-person and absentee ballots, doubled over the last presidential election 4 years ago. And I was also told by Locke they had 50,000 ballots cast day of. The ballot is also 2 pages here in Kootenai County, so Locke says that's as if they're counting 100,000 votes just from Election Day. The numbers in right now are from absentee ballots at this point. Now, one race we are watching closely here is for sheriff. Dan Wilson at this point is trailing with just over 20% of the vote. Incumbent Bob Norris leads currently over his 3 challengers. He says it just shows voters approve of his work over the last 4 years.
That, crime is down 16%. We are taking fentanyl out of our streets and out of our schools with record number of seizures. And we've engaged this community like no other sheriff. We have a great record on the water, so we're looking forward to repeating the same and doing a lot more in the next 4 years.
Dan Wilson tells me that if he does not win this election, he won't run again, and he will go back to the business that he's put on hold for the last year to campaign and will, quote, smoke cigars and drink whiskey. In Kootenai County, Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News. These are 2 different tax proposals, both passing right now. There are some similarities, like how much you'll pay and the basic idea behind them to fund public safety. Let's start with Spokane County's Measure 1. It's a 0.1% sales tax the county's had in place since 1995. If passed, this will make the 6th time voters have approved it, says County Commission Chair Mary Cuney.
It's a renewal, so it's been renewed that many times because people know the importance of what we're doing with our public safety and for our detention facilities.
The tax brings in nearly $16 million a year to fund juvenile detention and staffing.
It's required by state law to have that facility, and so if we didn't have this funding, that would have to come out of our general fund, and we would have to cut other discretionary services.
State law also allows part of the money to be used at Spokane County's adult jail. The city of Spokane is on the verge of adding a new 0.1% sales tax. The average person will pay $1 for every $1,000 they spend in city limits. And that doesn't include necessities like food or prescriptions, but it could generate $6.5 million for the city, Mayor Lisa Brown says.
We've already said how we want to spend these funds.
The community safety tax will fund police and fire and other public safety functions like the police ombudsman's office. Money could also help buy new equipment or upgrade fire or police buildings and programs.
This is what I ran on. I listened to voters last year at this time, and they were saying, we want our neighborhood resource officers back. We definitely want to invest in a new fire academy.
With Brown's new budget still under review by council, it's money the mayor has said could save the city.
As soon as the council passes that budget, we can go forward.
As it continues facing budget issues. Spokane's new tax will also benefit the county. Of the more than $7 million it's expected to bring in, 15% will go to Spokane County. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Political signs dot the streets of Spokane's Audubon Downriver neighborhood, something Spokane mom Kara appreciates.
That's what an election season is. It's people coming forward to show what they believe in and drum up support from their community for those candidates, and that's a great thing.
But Kara recently saw a different side to that political pride. It began when her Harris Waltz sign disappeared last month while the family was on vacation.
Didn't surprise me at all. I mean, like I said, I had moved it because I anticipated theft and it was still stolen, and so I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised.
What did surprise her appeared days later. A letter mailed to her husband with no return address. Opening it, she found it started with, quote, "Dear white dude for Kamala."
It explained to us that they stole our sign because they wanted us to know what censorship feels like, to have your First Amendment rights taken away.
The letter baffled Kara and her husband and also left them concerned.
I mean, it has my husband's name on it, which means either they know us, which I don't think they do, or they looked us up, which is a level beyond just coming by and stealing a sign that makes you angry.
Kara says she's filed a police report about the theft and the letter, but it hasn't stopped her from putting up 2 brand new signs.
Having a sign up that represents my values is a great freedom that we have here in America, and I wholeheartedly believe in people's abilities to put those signs out.
In Spokane, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
I'm KREM 2 Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo. Snow impacts us every single winter, and after a couple of years of somewhat relaxed winter conditions, this year looks like it's going to deliver. So get the skis ready and get those winter tires ready because we've got a lot of it on the way. Watch my long-range winter forecast, streaming exclusively on KREM 2 Plus.
While all saplings represent an opportunity for future growth, a sapling from the Anne Frank tree will be planted here at Peppersack Middle School, representing new beginnings.
I didn't think it was going to happen, so I'm amazed that it happened.
On the night of her 101st birthday, Carla Ullman Peppersack got an unexpected gift.
It's just so very, very special. It's hard to explain what it really means, but it's terribly, terribly important for me. Mm-hmm.
The announcement that a sapling from the Anne Frank tree will be coming to Spokane next spring. This comes after Peppersack worked on and off with the Anne Frank Foundation for the last 4 years, but eventually she thought she would never see it happen. Carla says when she was younger, she actually knew the Frank family and was friends with Anne's sister Margot. During World War II, at just 18 years old, Carla joined the Dutch resistance to help her family and other Jews from being captured by Nazis. Now, a piece of that history and the tree that Anne Frank wrote about in her diary will grow here in Spokane.
It represents the knowledge of the Holocaust. I mean, that people understand what happened, and in the big hope that it will never happen again.
I think we kind of view our students as saplings, right? They're newly rooted into the world around them. And we have the opportunity, it really is an opportunity, to be gardeners of these student saplings.
Peppersack Middle School Principal Andre Wicks says, like Carla, this sapling will grow and continue to inspire everyone to be their best selves.
A handful of people can make it very bad for other people, but I think hopefully it brings the goodness out in the people, and that's what the school is trying to do, and I think that's very important.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. For the KREM 2 News Weekend Review, remember, you can always watch our latest newscast and weather forecast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just click on the video in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.
I think we're gonna donate about $20.
$20? We are donating $2,000.
Oh my God! Holy moly, thank you! And it just became this incredible thing to where now we just say, you know, this can't stop.